Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be starting my vlog for My Friends by Fredrik Backman. And this book we are following, I think we're following dual timelines. We're following like the present day where we have a teenager who is trying to find out the story of these like three figures in this painting. And we're also following the story of those three figures as they were growing up. From my understanding of what I've heard in like other people's summaries and from reading a little bit of the back of the book. Um, love Fredrik Backman. He is one of my favorite authors. I've heard some mixed things. Merphy Napier really didn't love it, and she's a huge fan of Fredrik Backman, so makes me slightly scared. But I also really loved some of his stories that she didn't love, so I'm not too terrified, but I'm hopeful that I'll love it more than she did. But I'm really excited about this, and I hope you follow along with the journey. Okay, so I've been listening to My Friends by Fredrik Backman, right? And I'm probably like an hour or so in, and was totally confused on what the story was about. So let me fill in those gaps. So basically, we're following Louisa, and Louisa is an orphan. She's homeless, and she is really in love with this artist and his artwork. Like, not so much like him as a person, but like his creativity. And she's like really inspired by his art because she is also an artist. And she loves this one particular painting, and it's like the picture of the sea, but somehow in the image there are also three boys in the image, and apparently they're painted in such a way that nobody else really notices them, but like she notices them. And so she is so intrigued by it. And so we're following her story as she's attempting to see this painting and kind of like figure out like who they are and what they're doing. And we've gotten a little bit of flashback so far to the artist in his time as a child and like when he created the painting. So that's where we are as far as like a couple hours in. I am having such a great time. The writing style is very Backman. Like, he will write a line and then a few minutes later he'll say something else that like makes that make more sense or kind of turn it on its head. And I've got so many quotes already like listed out, but I'm going to try and wait until the end and do all of like the real spoilery things so that I can talk about it, but so that if you don't want to get it spoiled, then you can wait until the end to like cut off, you know? So I'm really enjoying it. I think I already said, I'm like a couple hours in. It's really hard on Audible because it doesn't tell me, maybe it's user error, but I can't really figure out like how far I am in it because it has two different numbers on it. Like when I go to like the homepage, it says like it's a 12, 13 hour audiobook. But when I'm like looking at it at the bottom, it says I have 6 hours left. I've not listened to the 5 hours. I'm like 8 chapters in. I've not listened to it that much. So I don't know. So we're just kind of guessing based on rounded math on where we're at in this book. But I am really enjoying it so far. We haven't gotten a whole lot of like the flashbacks yet. I'm expecting more of those since Louisa is kind of like met some of the people from that timeline. And so I'm expecting that she's going to get a whole lot more information about how this artwork kind of came to be. But I'm really loving Louisa. I love Fredrik Backman and how he's like, Louisa's part genius, but also part stupid. And sometimes they collide, and this is the result, you know? And like, it's just kind of funny. And so I really like him for that. And so I really like Louisa's voice in this story. A lot of throwing things, a lot of panicking and throwing spray cans at each other. Well, not at each other, but like at people. So that's getting a little bit redundant at this point. But, you know, that's a minor thing. So I will keep you updated. Okay, so I am now a little bit more than 20 chapters. I think what was it, 25 chapters. I just hit chapter 25. But look at this. I don't know that I showed you guys. It's signed. I didn't even know that until I took the cover off so I could look at my quotes. I don't have a lot of signed books, so that feels pretty special to me. But so, definitely gotten a little bit more context of what's happening in this story. And I was right that since Louisa has met some of the people from that previous timeline, that she is getting a little bit of that story. And that's actually kind of how the flashback stories are kind of being told. They're being told like sort of storyteller method for Louisa so that she can have the context for her painting and how everything kind of came to be. And I just freaking love Fredrik Backman. I mean, I love his storytelling. He just cannot share it enough. Like, he will tell a scene, right? Like, he'll tell a scene. And then later, like a couple chapters later, you get that scene again, but you get it from like a different perspective, or you get an added layer to that scene. Like, there's a scene in here where we're discussing like these kids hanging out, right? Well, you're seeing it a certain way. But then a couple chapters later, you get a little bit more of the context and you get a little bit more of the details of like what's happening, and you're seeing it completely different because there's more people involved than you like originally thought. And he doesn't tell anything in a straight line. And he does it a lot too, where he will talk about, he'll like allude to the future of like, oh, the summer ended with a dead body, or things like that. Like, and he does that in all of his stories. And it just brings so much intrigue to me, and I just love it so much. Like, it doesn't matter what he writes, I will read his stories because of just the way that he tells his stories. And I love the little quotes that like are very direct and they like pack a punch. And you would never really think of describing things that way. Like, he was describing this one character and they're very impatient, and he was said something along the lines of like, they were very patient. They waited all of 10 seconds before saying something else. Like, things like that. Like, he's just so good at telling a story, and he tells it so differently from other people. And I just really love his stories, and I'm really having a good time with this. I think when I had watched Merphy's video talking about it, I think in one of her wrap ups, she had said that this part of the story that is like the beginning, like Louisa's story, it sounds like, wasn't originally part of the story. But I guess editors or whatever had wanted him to include a little bit more of that. And so, like, it sounds like a lot of that is not even supposed to be part of it. But I'm loving that part so much. Like, I love Louisa's interactions with other people. Like, she is fantastic because, oh, what did they say? She was talking about him being a kidnapper, and he's like, I'm not going to kidnap you. And he's like, although that is what a kidnapper would say. And she's like, see, told you. You know an awful lot about kidnapping, you know? And so, like, she's just sarcastic and just quick-witted, and she irritates the crap out of this character that she's interacting with. And I love his voice and stuff too, because like he's kind of big in her storyline, and I I just love the voice. And I love how Fredrik Backman can create those kinds of voices, because like the voices are very different from the voices in his other stories. Like, the way that he's kind of telling the story is very similar, but the story itself isn't similar, and the characters are not similar at all. Like, there are tiny pieces that could be similar, but that's just people being human, you know? Like, you've got characters in a couple of different books who are just like protectors, and they will go all out for protecting their people. But like, that's people being human. That's not him being lazy and like copying characters from other stories. And his stories are so different. And I just love that so much, because like it's not the same every single time, which is huge. Because I think he's got a lot of books, and when you write a lot of books, it's super easy to start getting redundant, especially when you write similarly in all of your stories. But he hasn't, and so I think that's really cool, and I'm really excited. Like, I'm having a great time. Like, I know it's a hair tie. It's a bookmark for now. About halfway. And so, see the tabs. I already have tabs in there. Probably can't see them all. Page 1. Like, absolutely. It's so good. And I'm so excited to talk about all the spoilers and all the quotes and go through all the things because it's so good. I'm just having a good time. It's still not my favorite at this point. Could get there. Maybe. I don't know. Doubtful. I really love Beartown. Beartown is so good. Like, I was thinking about Beartown 3 the other day. I'm like, I could cry thinking about a scene in Beartown. And it's not even a scene that you would think. Like, nobody dies in the scene that I'm talking about. Like, it's just this boy confessing that he loves this girl. And I could cry. Like, it's just so good. But that is Fredrik Backman for you. Like, oh, he's so good. But anyways, I'm just gushing. I will read a little bit more and then update you later. Okay, so this will be the last update before I finish this book. And there was a part that I didn't update you before. So they only refer to the artist as the artist or Yacht. They never refer to him as his name, but we ended up getting his name. He wrote it on the painting as part of like his signature, but they went back to referring to him as the artist after we found out his name. So that was confusing. I mean, I understand what they're doing, but like, we already know his name, so like, why not just go with it? Oh my gosh, my hair. It's been a long day, okay? But anyways, they also refer to him as the son when talking about like his relationship with his mom and his dad. So like, you don't know his name at all throughout the entire story until this moment. So that was really interesting. But so I'm loving the darkness in this book. I think that one of the things that I really love about Fredrik Backman is that he doesn't shy away from darker topics like Beartown. He talked about rape and should probably say SA, shouldn't I? Okay. This girl got attacked in Beartown, and so he talks about those kinds of things, and he talks about death, and he talks about Alzheimer's and dementia and Lord. And so he doesn't shy away from hard topics. And I think that in this one, he talks about some hard topics. Like, he's going through these stories of these children, and they're dealing with like bullying and feeling suicidal and contemplating murder and being abused and not knowing like who you are and your place in the world, and having to deal with adults who aren't fully there, or they're neglectful and they don't really care. And so we're really exploring these topics. I would love for us to be more in depth on like their stories. Their stories are sort of like, we get pieces, and I want more of those stories because that's the deep part, that's the meaningful part. And I love that Fredrik Backman will go into those kinds of things, and he doesn't write it in a way that romanticizes like hurting yourself or things like that, but he just lays it out there of, this is just the reality of where we are, and then brings it back around to, here's what the future could be. So where we are in this book currently is, we have been on this train, and Ted has been telling Louisa this story, and they got off the train, they got attacked, and all these things, and they lost all their stuff, and it's been a struggle for them. And now we're learning a little bit more about R's story. And he is one of the friends from the childhood. And his story is the one that is deeper. And I wish that we had been able to go a little bit deeper into that. Just because I like the hard hitting topics, and we haven't fully gone into that yet. And I really want to. And so I'm really hoping that we will go deeper as we get more into his story. I'm really excited. Not that you want to be excited for abuse and all those things, but I love exploring those topics and how they impact people and how people can overcome those kinds of things. And so that's what I'm excited for. But so yeah, but look at all these tabs. I don't even know if that you can see them. Yep, you can see those. So many tabs. And I cannot wait to talk to you about them at the end of this vlog. But one more part to finish, and then I get to get into it. Okay, so I finally finished it, and I loved it. I really enjoyed this a lot. It was super funny. I always loved Backman's writing. Oh, his writing, it just speaks to me in all of the right ways. And so, my final thoughts about the last section. I am an idiot, okay? So, you know how I said that we found out the artist name and then they continued to call him the artist? It wasn't his name. And it was so stupid because I even knew, hang on, this isn't going to make any sense. So, we meet a character in this book towards like the middle of it. He was a janitor at a school. And they said his name. I knew his name. We meet his mom. And later, his mom is coming back into the story after I said that I knew his name now. So the kid's mom is coming back into the story, right? And I even remembered her as his mom and his name. Like, stupid. So the name was not the artist name. We didn't know the artist name until after that. It was a little bit later. It was very much later. And after that, they did call him his actual name a little bit more often. But I really enjoyed it. I feel like the ending was exactly what it needed to be. And you know how I said that there was part of the book that wasn't supposed to even be there at all? I loved all of those scenes. I mean, maybe not 100% of them, but I really loved like Luisa's interactions with the other dude in the main timeline, or like the present day timeline. I did want more of the flashbacks. I wanted to go deeper into the abuse and the darkness and the things that they were going through. But I understand why Backman didn't really go deeper into it, because that wasn't the whole point of the story. The whole point of the story was talking about being seen and finding friends and people who you can love and who love you and who see you, and finding the joy despite all of the darkness. So, like, that was the whole point of the story. And I think that if we had gone too deep into the darkness, we might not have been able to redeem it into the light enough, if that makes sense. But yeah, so I really love this. It's not my favorite. Beartown still holds like that place in my heart. I don't know that anything ever will. I think Beartown will always be my number one, but I really enjoyed this. So now that you have final thoughts, I do want to go into some more spoilers and some more quotes from the story to kind of help you understand my thoughts a little bit more. So, if you don't want more spoilers, then I will see you later. But if you're ready for spoilers, let's go. So, very first page, I was all about it. And when I say that I love Louisa, I mean I love Louisa. And Louisa is the 18-year-old who meets Ted. Ted is the artist's best friend. And so she's following him back to his hometown. And he is telling her the story of their childhood. And Louisa grew up as an orphan. She grew up in foster homes, and she only knows like one true friend. And her friend died. And so she's having a hard time dealing with the grief and all of these things. And her friend's name is Fish. And Louisa is really enjoying learning about Ted and his friendships and them growing up together and how they were able to create this painting that Louisa really loves. And the reason that they met was because she ended up like running into the artist, like plowing him over. And he really liked her, like immediately liked her. And they were painting on one of the walls together. And so the artist tells Ted, I found one of us. And the artist was dying, right? And he had Ted go to this auction that Louisa starts out in and has him buy his painting of the sea. He drained all of his bank accounts, all of his assets, everything to buy this painting. And he has Ted give it to Louisa after he dies. And so she's like, I can't own this painting. This is too much money. Like, I'm not worthy. And so she follows Ted back to his hometown in order for him to help her sell the painting. And so that's the story, right? So we start off with Louisa, and this is like the opener. She says, or well, she doesn't say, but like her description. Louisa is a teenager, the best kind of human. The evidence for this is very simple. Little children think teenagers are the best humans, and teenagers think teenagers are the best humans. The only people who don't think that teenagers are the best humans are adults, which is obviously because adults are the worst kinds of humans. And so, like, that's so Backman, and him trying to, like, set a scene of Louisa's all about, like, her and her friend Fish, and, like, they don't like adults. They hate them, which is why her attachment to Ted becomes a big deal, because he's 40. Like, they talk all the time about him being almost 40. And because she doesn't trust people. She never trusted adults. She's never had any adults that she could trust until Ted. And so that's what that whole thing is setting up. So this scene, Louisa is talking about her friend Fish dying. Her friend Fish died because of an overdose, right? Because as soon as she turned 18, she got kicked out of the foster homes and she's on the streets by herself. She has nowhere to go. And so Louisa says this, like in her chapters. Louisa has now been alone on the planet for 3 weeks because that was when all the adults lied and said that Fish had committed suicide. It wasn't true. No adult missed Fish when she died. No one does if you're an orphan and grew up in 10 different foster homes. It's so easy then to just blame the fact that she took an overdose of pills. But Louisa knows the truth. Fish was murdered by reality. She was suffocated by the claustrophobia of being trapped on this planet. She died of being sad all the time. Like, how real is that? Like, people don't do drugs all the time just because they like getting high. Like, that's because there's something else there. There's something sad. Like, they're either trying to add to their emotions or trying to take away emotions. And that's what she was trying to do. She was trying to take away some of that sadness, and it killed her. And it's really heartbreaking. Okay, so this scene, I just find it funny. Louisa breaks into this church where this auction is being held for this painting, and she gets caught. And so they're calling for the guard, right? And so the guard is chasing her. Louisa snatches her backpack from the ground and runs. He runs after her, but of course, he doesn't stand a chance. He's a grown man, and they don't have a clue about how to run. Grown men don't have enough things they're afraid of on this planet to become good at running. Like, to become good at running when you're a foster kid or you're just living on the streets. That's because you've been through stuff. Like, I can't imagine how much you would have to go through to, like, and how much you'd have to run away from people and things and all of that to get that good at running. And that actually becomes a parallel with the flashbacks and them running from bullies and them running from all kinds of things throughout their childhood. And not all of them are very good things. They're not running just for fun. Okay, so part of the flashback is talking about the 4 kids. You've got the artist, whose name is Kim Kim, and then you've got Jawar, and you've got Ted, and you've got Ollie. Yeah, that's it. Ollie. So the artist, Jawar, is like the enforcer. Like, he is the protector. He fights for people that he loves. Ted he's a bit of a rule follower. He's a bit of a nerd. And then Ali is the girl of the group, and she is just as rough and tumble as Jawar is, and they bicker and fight all the time. But so Jawar grows up in this household where he's abused by his dad. And so we're getting ready to go into this scene where the artist, was beaten up at school because of his sketch pad, because other kids had found it and they bullied him about it. And Jawar had fought them over it. And then he goes home and he gets beaten for it. And that's what they're going to talk about. And so it says, the adults at school thought he was cold and hard and that he didn't have feelings. It was the opposite that was the problem. This was a boy who cared about animals and cilantro and hated fighting. He only fought for those he loved. So the artist lived in constant fear that one day Jawar would love someone so much that he would end up in prison. And then he goes home and he gets beaten by his dad. When Jawar came back to school, he played soccer at every single recess, throwing himself headfirst into every tackle to create excuses for a body absolutely covered in black and blue. After that day, the artist always hid his sketch pad extra carefully from the 6th graders, not to protect himself, and certainly not to protect them, but to protect Jawar, because Jawar was dangerous, but the world was always more dangerous. The world is undefeated. Responsibility? No one ever felt it more. Could you imagine what it would be like as a child to feel that kind of responsibility for your friends, that you have to protect them by hiding your sketch pad and hiding parts of who you are so that you didn't get bullied, so that they didn't get in fights over you? Like, most of us don't have to think about those kinds of things. And there are real children in the world who go through these kinds of things. And the fact that they are so loyal and loving to each other, that they're willing to go out of their way to protect their best friends, it's just, this is what Backman does so well. Okay, and I marked this scene because of the fact that it's very Backman in the way that it's written. So I've been talking about how Backman will say a line and you have like an idea of what's happening, and then a few pages later he'll add more to that gives you more context. Well, in one of these sections right here, in Ted's point of view, he sees Jawar and the artist walking really close together, making it seem like they're much closer together and much like their friendship is closer than Ted is with them. And in Ted's point of view, he's jealous because they're so close. But then a little bit later, we get Jawar's perspective of that very same scene, and they're walking that closely because Jawar is telling him something. Like, Jawar is confiding in him about something, and that's why they're so close. But you didn't know that reading it from Ted's perspective. You just see what Ted saw, and then Ted makes assumptions, and you make assumptions with Ted. And that's a small example of what Backman does, but it's that kind of thing where you get a line and then you're like, oh, okay. And then later you get more and you get more clarity. Okay. And so this section is talking about Louisa and Fish, and they're best friends. And we're getting like Louisa's perspective of kind of a little bit of a flashback of their time together. And Fish is telling her, there's nothing more dangerous than being noticed by men. You can't trust them. Have you ever seen the floor of a men's bathroom? Those creatures are actually allowed to make political decisions and drive cars. And she says, you can't trust men, Louisa. They're far too easy to love. And then on down, she describes fish, and she says, the only bad thing about Fish was that she was terrible in the mornings because she always woke up happy, and that's a complete misunderstanding of what a morning is. Louisa, who was a normal person, always woke up to find Fish bouncing on the bed as if it was going to be the best day ever. And I just love that because it's Bachman making his characters very human. Like, we really, most of us will really resonate with Louisa with that one of like, absolutely, Fish is a horrible person because she's happy in the mornings. Like, who's happy in the mornings? I am so not a morning person at all. Like, I will get up in the mornings, I'll make my coffee, and I'll take a shower. I will talk to nobody until after my shower because I am just not, don't talk to me in the mornings. It's just terrible. So I really love that line. Okay, so this next scene, Louisa and Ted are on the train, and Louisa decides that she's going to leave Ted, and she's going to leave him the painting and all these things because it's just too much pressure. She can't be trusted. She's going to screw everything up, and she has a hard time building relationships. And so this is what she is going through as she's leaving Ted. She can't see the train behind her anymore, doesn't hear it leave the platform, but she hopes that Ted won't hate her for leaving him and the painting. The worst thing about Ted isn't that he seems kind, but might be mean. It's that he might be kind for real. She wishes he hadn't said what he did about believing in her. That's too much responsibility. All she can give him is disappointment. Oh, like, responsibility. The weight of that she's feeling in this story. It's hard. It's hard to be responsible. And I love Bachman because, like, most of us don't even think about that kind of thing. It's like, oh, okay, we'll just do it. It sucks, but we'll do it. But he explores, like, the weight of responsibility and how when you feel like all you're going to do is disappoint people, and so you bounce before you can do that. I love that Bachman will explore those kinds of things. Okay, so this part is just a description that, sorry if that was loud, that Bachman uses about, like, humanity. And it hits me. Human beings are capable of such unbelievable stupidity. We speak of the birth of a child as a miracle, but really the miracle is everything that comes after. The artist used to sit in a big window in his apartment, looking at the people down in the street and muttering, the dinosaurs died out, but you and I and all these idiots managed to survive. We do nothing but try to find ways to destroy everything that's keeping us alive, but we're still here. Like, it's so true. How often are we creating new things that make us lazier and stupider and less capable? And, like, all the drugs and the alcohol and all these things that we're creating that just destroy us. All the processed food that's destroying us. Like, this is all that we're doing. And yet, here we are. Even though some of us are really big idiots, we are still here. As actually one of Bachman's lines in one of his books is that you're not a complete idiot. And all these other idiots have figured it out. So I think you'll be fine. I use that with my clients all the time of, like, think of the stupidest person you know. They figured it out. You can figure it out too. And they're like, you're kind of right. Got it from Bachman. Okay. So this scene is Ted and Louisa reconnecting. He notices that she got off the train, so he got off the train with her, and then they ended up getting in a fight with these two dudes. And now they've reconnected, and Ted kind of yelled at her and kind of got onto her and all these things because she left. And so then bad things happened, right? And so he says, better that you just left me right away. Is that what you were going to say? That it's too scary trying to be liked by anyone. It's easier to just give up. And she says, yes. And he responds, I thought about leaving you long before you left me. I was thinking of getting off the train when I went to the bathroom. And then she says, we suck at abandoning people. And he smiles and said, we should practice. And, like, that's such a Bachman thing. And I love his interactions with his characters like that because it's just real, It's just real. So this is another quote from Bachman. And it says, disappointment is a powerful thing. Used correctly, it is stronger than fear, more terrible than physical pain. If you see it in the eyes of the one you love, you'll do almost anything to make it stop. That's so true. And a lot of us are like, we're motivated by not wanting to disappoint people. And so, like, we do a lot of things, you know? A lot of times people are very successful because they don't want to disappoint people. Or we do things we don't want to do because we don't want to disappoint people. Disappointment is super powerful. And most of us don't even think about those kinds of things. And that's what I love about Backman is that he will bring those things up and he will explore it. And this whole thing that, like Luisa's part of it, is learning that people can be trusted and it's okay to be liked and it's okay to try to have interactions with people and to not leave people. And like, she really needed that. Okay, so after Kim Kim, the artist, creates the painting, the kids don't really know what to do with it because he can't enter the contest he was trying to enter because it was for 13 and below. And they're now 15, so he can't enter the contest. And so they break into a museum and they put it on the wall so that they can sort of just see that it belongs there. Well, security guard pops up and he says, you can't steal the painting. And they're like, we're not stealing it, it's ours. And so he has them call someone to like vouch for them that it's their painting. And so they call Christian's mom, and Christian is the janitor who like impacted Kim Kim's life. And so they call her and she comes and she says, I'm sorry for my tone, but I teach art history. So of course I understand that this is the painting. Anyone can see that it doesn't belong here. And then Kim Kim is like, I know, it doesn't belong here. It was stupid, all of this. Can we just be allowed to go now? We won't cause any more problems. And Christian's mom is like, what are you talking about? Of course it doesn't belong here. None of the artists who painted those could paint like this. And I love the delivery of that scene. And the delivery of that is very Backman, of like, someone says something that's sort of vague, like, yes, we could tell the painting doesn't belong here. And you're just like, oh, that's not very kind. And then it comes down later and it's like, oh, because it's so much better than all of these. And very Backman. And I just love that because it really touched him because he never believed in himself. And that's the whole point of like his storyline with his friends is they believed in him so much that they pushed him to do this painting. And they were willing to steal paint and canvases and all kinds of things so that he would do this painting. But he loved them so much that he didn't want them to become thieves in order for him to make this painting. And so they figured it out a different way. And it was all rooted in the fact that they love each other that much. And then I just love this line because it just sums up so many things. So they are at Ted's house, and Ted doesn't have like the greatest relationship with his mom, and he is at his house after they get back from the museum, and Ali goes upstairs to make lasagna with Ted's mom because she just loves it. And Ali asks her, is it horrible being an adult? And his mom responds, unbearable. You fail with almost everything all the time. And like, that's just human. You know, like we mess up so much all the time. All the time. And I don't think that that's normalized enough, that we don't have it all together and we don't have all the answers. Like, I had a client once who was terrified of growing up and becoming an adult because they didn't know anything. And I was like, we don't know anything either. We ask, we Google it, or we screw it up until we figure it out. And they were like, you don't know everything? I'm like, absolutely not. We don't know anything at all. We mess up all the time. And like, this kid was 18 and didn't realize that adults don't know everything. We really need to normalize that a little bit more because man, it makes you feel a lot less alone when you realize that nobody else has it figured out. But okay, I think that is all for now. I have had a great time reading this book and sharing with you all of my thoughts, especially the quotes. Oh, love doing the quotes. But have you read this? What do you think about it? I am going to link Merphy's spoiler vlog in the description since I've mentioned it so many times. So check that out while you're, picking out a new video to watch. And I will see you in the next one.